Hello there, welcome along. This is Good Morning Transfers, and it is a big summer for Arsenal. Here are the 3 reasons why. Point 1, they need to keep a hold of Lucas Torreira. Now, we know that AC Milan are interested because Marco Giampaolo is the manager there. He's played under him previously, but it is vital that Arsenal keep hold of the player who was one of the standout performers in the Premier League for them in the last season. Point 2, prioritise a centre-back. It seems obvious, but we say it every year that Arsenal need a new centre-back. We know that Shkodran Mustafi gets a lot of criticism, but we also know that Arsenal are looking for central defensive reinforcements. And the third point, just to finish, why it's a big summer for Arsenal. It's a big summer for the kit, because that new kit is flames.
It actually is, isn't it? It's very rare that we'd be praising someone's kit, but that Arsenal kit, they've got it right, haven't they?
100%.
Right, tell you what, though, they've got to get a lot more right than just the kit. And someone's tweeted, and by the way, hashtag transfer talk, love it. We're getting loads and loads of reaction from you. We like, not reaction, you're actually asking us questions. And JD, this is one for you. This is from Eddie, who is, he's from Ireland, he's an Arsenal fan. He says, can't believe Arsenal haven't signed Aaron Ramsey's replacement yet. Any updates or anything for us fans to give us hope too? Well, they are going to have to replace him, aren't they? Unless they're going from within.
I mean, 100%. You're talking about, in my personal opinion, probably the most influential player that impacted Arsenal when he's on the field and when he's fit and when he's 100%. He brings such a different dynamic to anybody else in terms of those long list of midfielders that they've got there, in terms of being able to get ahead of the football and being able to anticipate. So they have to fill that void because he brings goals from midfield, which is a different threat. But you just never know with Arsenal, to be honest. And you're talking about their transfer structure. I just really don't understand. For years, we were talking about 10 years now, we're talking about, since harking back to the Wenger days, that Arsenal have been focused on all of these attacking players. And we've seen it. We've seen the Lacazettes come in, the Aubameyangs. But at the same time, the glaring hole is the centre of their defence. 51 goals they conceded last year. You're the 3rd worst defensive team in the top half.
We've not even mentioned Kieran Tierney there.
It's just,
who obviously they've had a bid rejected for.
It's such a glaring mistake in the transfer department. I just don't really understand how they can't identify a centre half that can hold that defence together.
Do you think, Mark, that they may sell some of the centre backs that they've already got, because we know that it's £40 million to spend plus whatever they recoup? Are there any centre backs that they could sell that could be spent better elsewhere? Well, on a new centre back for a start.
Well, that's the problem, isn't it? The Arsenal don't have the money to spend and compete at the highest level and attract those big money players because they don't have a transfer kitty that will match the valuation of the higher level players. And going back to what Dave said there about Lucas Torreira, you look at Aaron Ramsey having left the club. They do not want to lose another central midfielder who has been influential for them this season. You know, he cost over £26 million. He's been superb. A lot of Arsenal fans will look at him and go, right, you're someone that can drive us forward next season, and it's key that they keep him.
And Laurent Koscielny, he's not getting any younger, 33 now. Will he commit his future? Will he be staying? So obviously, club captain, leadership qualities, that's kind of all up in the air potentially for them at the moment.
And it's quite, I mean, that's the sentiment. But JD, it's quite similar to the Chelsea situation, what I'm going to ask you now. Out on loan last season, had Reece Nelson, who was excellent. Emile Smith-Rowe looks like a real talent. Guendouzi's still very young. Willock, is it Joe Willock? Yep. They've got him as well.
Of course.
Who's a central midfielder. They've got youngsters coming through as well. So how does Emery save some money in the transfer market by promoting some of them? Must admit, especially Reece Nelson. Massive fan of Kieran Tierney, who Dave mentioned. Completely different positions, but I'm a huge fan of Reece Nelson as well.
Tom, I just have to turn around and say this has been happening at Arsenal for years. And if Arsenal fans are watching, you understand exactly what I'm saying. Well, we hark back to Serge Gnabry days, where you have a player that's knocking on the first team door, that has the ability, has proven it out on loan, and then all of a sudden he has to leave. Chuba Akpom is another one who's a title winner this year. It's happened within this Arsenal system for a long while. They go out and they buy these foreign imports. Of course it's time. You're not going to have the investment money we talked about, the 40 million. So really in this current market, 40 million is not going to get you the type of player that's going to take you to the Champions League. So bring through those youngsters, give them an opportunity to develop in the league.
Right, I tell you what, then we're going to go on Harry Maguire in a moment, but we've had plenty of tweets come in. One of them, a little bit cheeky, asked if they can have one of these Good Morning Transfer mugs.
I'll give you mine.
Well, it's from, I've got his name written down, Richie Aldred. I don't actually drink tea or coffee, so there's nothing in it.
Have mine too if you want, Rich, man.
So, Richie, tell you what, on deadline day, I might send this one to you. OK, all right, tell you what, deadline day, that will Harry Maguire still be a Leicester player? What do we know with the latest about this, JD?
I mean, you just have to look at the actual last 18 months of this. I love to call him an outstanding centre-half because he has the qualities of all what you want in a modern defender. He can bring the ball out. He's a great defender, one-on-one defender as well. And he's just a physical guy back there. And to have two of the top teams chasing after you in the league in terms of reputation across Europe and footballing-wise, it's credit to him and it's credit to his development as well.
He's exactly the kind of player that Pep Guardiola loves to sign. He loves playing out from the back. Potentially, could he be a replacement for Vincent Kompany? Big shoes to fill, I know, but they're there to be filled. So, yeah, one question to be, though, perhaps if Manchester United had made it into the Champions League, would he potentially be more favoured for a move there, potentially? I don't know.
You have to look at it as well. Look at the way that John Stones has developed under Guardiola. And he would have looked at the way that Guardiola is not scared to trust his centre-halves with the ball. I love Laporte. I love what he does with the football as well. As a defender, wanting to play in that Manchester City system right now, I know Man United have that historic appeal, but you have one of the best coaches in the world right now.
And Ederson as your goalkeeper as well. Wow.
We're talking about the price because we know that the Manchester clubs have both said that they would pay £65 million for him. Leicester haven't put a price and said, they've said, made it very, very clear he's not for sale. I had a tweet in from David Lloyd, who's tweeted to say that Harry Maguire, at least £75 million. As a Manchester United fan, I think the price is too much, but that's the sort of player we need in our squad, and centre-backs is our priority, I feel, that we need to improve on. Dave, would you go along with, like we were saying about Arsenal, centre-backs is their priority? Because they do have plenty of them. They'd, again, have to sell.
Yeah, I think we have to also consider Leicester's position in this. Now, Harry Maguire only signed a new contract last summer. He's got 5 years left on this deal, so in terms of a bargaining position, Leicester are in a position of strength at this point. One source close to the deal has told us that Leicester value him at around £80 million. Now, that would be bigger than the deal for Virgil van Dijk. I think also it would be very difficult for Harry Maguire, as we've been saying, to turn down a move to one of the Manchester clubs. However, we know that Maguire won't agitate for a move. He's very thankful to Leicester for the way that they've treated him, thankful for them giving him an opportunity when he moved from Hull for £17 million in 2017. He is a very down-to-earth guy as well. I've spoken to him before for Sky Sports News. He's very down-to-earth, and he's from a working-class town. He knows his roots. You know, he's not a big-time Charlie. You don't see him on the back of the newspapers every week. And the thing I like most about Harry Maguire, this guy turned up to England duty with his clothes in a bin bag. Now, if that doesn't deserve a round of applause, I don't know what does.
And one of the interesting thing about Harry Maguire as well, he must be sat there thinking, there's something special bubbling along here at Leicester City. They've had Brendan Rodgers come into the football club. They've got one or two new faces. There's going to be a new attacking style. You feel like, of all the clubs out there, Leicester and perhaps Everton, but Leicester certainly, could be one of those that could break the top six, but they need Harry Maguire to do it.
I think if they manage to keep him as well, that sends out a huge statement of intent. They've got such a good squad. Ben Chilwell, James Maddison, the likes of those guys. And I think if they can keep Maguire, then it just sends out a massive statement. James Maddison's obviously been linked with perhaps a big money move elsewhere. He's said it's all, you know, he's not letting it go to his head, and you can tell Maguire hasn't been either. So.
Lots of reasons for him to stay at Leicester, and we've talked about reasons why he could go to Manchester City. But at Manchester United, they've got Eric Bailly, Victor Lindelof, Chris Smalling, Phil Jones and Marcus Rojo, who, all centre-backs, Rojo I know can play left-back as well. So in that case, JD, if he went to Manchester United, it looks like he'd start.
He's the best player out of all those players you just named, and it's not even close.
So there is an argument for Manchester United, even though we found more arguments to stay at Leicester and go to Manchester City. There are some positives there.
My personal opinion, he'd be the best defender at Man United, hands down. Coming to training day first day, he'd be the best defender. And secondly, if he was to go to Manchester City, I think he'd be on par with Laporte. I'd even have him technically right now probably ahead of Stones and Otamendi because of his ability to defend and his physicality on both ends. That right there makes him an aerial threat to get goals, as well as loving the ability to take on and stop a player.
Right, OK, well, we're going to talk more about this later. Remember, keep coming in with your hashtag transfer talk on our social media accounts, getting loads in. Really happy with your response to this so far. There's also been one that's come in personally to JD, which I'm told to look out for next as well. But on the way, he was in the spotlight for his performances last season, and now he's in the transfer spotlight. What's going on with Paul Pogba's future at Manchester United? We'll take a closer look next.
Good morning, welcome back to Good Morning Transfers here on Sky Sports News. Up now, our new feature, and it is, as you can see very dramatically, the Transfer Spotlight. Today's Transfer Spotlight is on Paul Pogba. It seems like this will potentially be one transfer that rumbles right on until the deadline. They say there's no smoke without fire, and already there's been talk of a potential exit from Old Trafford for Paul Pogba. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has said Pogba is very much a part of his plans and insists he's going nowhere. The 26-year-old has 2 years left on his contract with Manchester United, having one further year option. But this summer, he has spoken about his readiness for a new challenge. We know he would be keen on a move back to Juventus, where he won 4 Serie A titles. And we understand Zinedine Zidane is keen on taking his fellow countrymen to Madrid. What do Manchester United fans think about this? Get in touch. Tell us whether you want to keep Pogba or you would be happy to see him depart. And if so, who is his replacement? You get a feeling this will be one that rumbles on and on and on. Manchester United fans, have your say, and here's how you can get involved.
Yeah, and people are getting involved as well. Keep that hashtag transfer talk. And this is someone who says, I think Manchester United would be a better team without Pogba. He actually uses the hashtag bad egg. And it's from a Chelsea fan who thinks that. So it's probably be better, Manchester United would be better without him. But this one, specifically for you, JD, it's from Niall Hawkins, all right? He says, JD, what's more exciting day for you? Free agency day, like we saw in NBA yesterday, or transfer deadline day?
Pressure's on here.
I know. Transfer deadline day, free agency. It's like choosing between your mum and your dad. That's what I say. You just love them both. You love them differently. But it's like choosing between your mum and your dad.
Anyone who doesn't choose their mum is in big trouble with their mum on that one. Okay, Callum Tate, another one here about Arsenal from Callum Tate. He says that Arsenal need to sign a new centre-back. Mustafi time in North London is done, and maybe a new central midfielder to replace Aaron Ramsey that we were talking about earlier. And I think this one we might throw to you, Alice, actually. It's from James Curtis, who just says, Norwich City need a new goalkeeper. What would you think? You know that area well?
Pretty harsh, I think. Tim Krul played every minute of every league game as they won the title and got promoted to the Premier League. So he did a pretty good job. There were a few questions asked defensively around Norwich, so that could be looked at as they get ready for Premier League football. But perhaps he needs someone to help push him to reach another level. Obviously, he's played in the Premier League before and he's done really well. So I think exciting times for Norwich. I think it would be harsh to say that he's not ready for it. Of course he's ready for it, but I think he does need that competition to help push him, as do lots of goalkeepers.
Yeah, OK, well, a lot of people are asking when we're going to be talking about the EFL and the Championship. Let's talk about the Championship right now then. Keep getting in touch with us. We don't just talk about the Premier League. We go all around the world on this show. And we're going to focus now on a side, well, Mark's going to focus on a side who were relegated last season despite spending a lot of money, and that's Fulham.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Fulham fans, get in touch to let us know what you think and how you'd like Scott Parker to approach this Championship season. Can they have an immediate bounce back to the top flight? Of course, a new manager in place, a progressive, exciting young manager in Scott Parker, someone who knows all about Fulham. He played for them, he captained them, and he did an incredible job at the back end of last season in the Premier League. Of course, everyone knows how much they spent, over £100 million last summer. And what happened? They got relegated. I think there's going to be two scenarios here: attracting the right type of player on the right type of wages to the club, and also we've already seen Ryan Babel leave, players leaving Fulham that perhaps aren't in their wage bracket now. So it'd be really interesting as to how he approaches it. But I think it's the same philosophy: young, hungry, talented players that can just go and give that Championship a real run.
And Scott Parker was in caretaker charge end of the season. He's got the job permanently now, very similar to West Brom last season, Alice.
Yes, they came very close to promotion to the Premier League. The last 2 seasons, obviously, reaching the final 2 seasons ago, and then the semi-finals last season. So it feels like they've been very close. Obviously, they've got a new manager, Slaven Bilic. Yeah, it's all new times. I think it will be important to see if they can keep their main players. Obviously, Salomon Rondon playing a huge part. Will he stay? He's on big wages. fans are asking those kind of questions. They've lost Dwight Gale. He played a huge role for them last season. So lots of changes potentially for West Brom. Obviously no bigger than a new manager, but it'll be interesting to see. He has come out from the start and said, I want to try and get this team back into the Premier League. So yeah, we'll wait and see how he does.
It's going to be a big blow. They're going to lose Craig Dawson, who's close to moving to Watford. He is outstanding in the Championship and will be outstanding in the Premier League as well. West Bromwich Albion fans are a little bit upset with the way the club is running at the moment. I speak to a lot of West Brom fans, and I think the trick for Slaven Bilic will be to galvanise that set of support and that set of players. At the moment, he's probably a little bit unsure who's going to be there, who's not going to be there come the first day of the season. So it's going to be an interesting time for West Bromwich Albion, a time for change.
Yeah, a little bit of breaking news just into us as well. This is what we were expecting, wasn't it? Gonzalo Higuain has returned to Juventus now after his loan spell at Chelsea. It expired yesterday, didn't it? So this isn't a great surprise to us. Transfer team, do we think that if they were able to sign him, if we don't know, this was a loophole that potentially, because he was already at the club, they could have kept him. What do you think about this?
I think Maurizio Sarri was such a huge fan of Higuain. There were a lot of questions asked around him when he joined the club, and I think actually now that Sarri's gone, it seems right that he doesn't stick around too, personally.
Yeah, wherever Higuain goes, Sarri seems to always trying to pull him with who's going. So
it makes sense.
It does.
OK, thanks to everyone here on the transfer team. We are back, remember, at midday. This was the first edition of Good Morning Transfers. Thanks for getting involved. We are back at the same time tomorrow for this, but we're back at midday for transfer talk as well.